The holographic display flickered in the dim light of Earth's Central Command as Admiral Sarah Chen studied the deployment patterns of humanity's greatest fleet. 200 supercarriers, each a testament to human engineering and determination, hung in high orbit like suspended thunderclouds. Their massive forms blocked out the stars, casting long shadows across the lunar surface below. "Final status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of 20 billion lives. Earth's population had doubled since first contact, and now every one of them waited for her next decision. Colonel James Wright's fingers danced across his console. "All carriers report ready, Admiral. Quantum shields at maximum capacity, and our new stealth systems are functioning perfectly." He paused, swallowing hard. "The Zeth Empire's ultimatum expires in 17 minutes. Sarah's dark eyes narrowed as she remembered the Empress's words, delivered with such casual cruelty. "Submit to immediate occupation, or face extinction." The alien ruler had expected humanity to crumble, to bow before superior technology and overwhelming numbers. Instead, humanity had spent the last 6 months preparing for this moment. "Signal the fleet," Sarah ordered. "Execute Operation Thunderbolt." Across 200 bridges, 200 captains received their orders. The supercarrier's engines ignited simultaneously, a carefully choreographed dance of thrust and momentum. They moved with impossible grace for vessels of their size, each longer than the ancient city of Manhattan. The Zeth Empire's forward scout fleet detected the movement too late. By the time their quantum sensors registered the human vessels, Sarah's carefully planned trap was already closing. The supercarriers split into 4 battle groups, their formation resembling a massive sphere that began to collapse inward. "Enemy vessels detected," Wright announced. 17 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and, sir, they're launching fighters. Thousands of them. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Just as expected. They still think quantity beats quality. Execute Phase 2. The supercarrier's outer hulls split open like blooming flowers, revealing their secret weapon. Dr. Marcus Rivera's greatest achievement wasn't the carriers themselves, but what they contained. From each vessel emerged swarms of autonomous combat drones, each barely larger than a human pilot, but carrying enough firepower to challenge a Zeth cruiser. "Drone swarms deployed," Wright confirmed. "The enemy fighters are engaging." The space between the two fleets erupted in chaos as tens of thousands of human drones met hundreds of thousands of Zeth fighters. But where the alien vessels flew in rigid formations, attacking with predictable patterns, the human drones adapted and evolved their tactics in real time. Machine learning algorithms developed over centuries of technological advancement allowed them to outmaneuver their more numerous opponents. Sarah watched the tactical display as the first wave of Zeth fighters disappeared, their signals winking out one by one. The alien commanders, still operating under centuries-old doctrine, hadn't expected this level of technological sophistication from a primitive species. "Their dreadnoughts are moving to support the fighter screen," Wright reported. "They're falling for it." "Signal all carriers," Sarah commanded. "Prepare for synchronized jump. Target coordinates are locked. Execute in 3, 2, 1. In perfect unison, 200 supercarriers activated their quantum drive cores. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as humanity's greatest vessels performed what the Zeth had deemed impossible: a coordinated short-range quantum jump with pinpoint accuracy. The human fleet reappeared inside the Zeth formation, their positions calculated to maximum tactical advantage. Each carrier now sat within optimal firing range of a Zeth capital ship, their weapon systems already spinning up to full power. "All carriers report successful transit," Wright announced, unable to keep the excitement from his voice. "Clean jumps across the board. We have targeting solutions on 17 out of 17 dreadnoughts." Sarah's voice carried across every command channel as she gave the order that would change the course of human history. "All carriers, fire at will. Show them humanity's answer to extinction." The supercarrier's main guns opened up simultaneously, each shot carrying enough energy to rival a small sun. The Zeth shields, designed to repel conventional weapons, proved inadequate against humanity's latest innovations. Where their energy weapons met Zeth armor, the alien metal simply ceased to exist, converted into its base particles by weapons that defied the enemy's understanding of physics. Multiple direct hits, Wright reported. Enemy shields are failing. Their formations are breaking up. They're trying to retreat. But Sarah wasn't finished. This wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about sending a message. Launch the second drone wave. Don't let a single ship escape. The Empress needs to understand exactly what she's provoked. As the remaining Zeth vessels attempted to flee, they found themselves herded by waves of human drones, forced into killing zones where the supercarrier's main guns waited. The battle lasted less than 20 minutes from first contact to final shot. When it was over, Sarah opened a channel to Earth Command. Operation Thunderbolt complete. Enemy fleet eliminated. 0 casualties on our side. She paused, allowing herself to feel the full weight of what they'd accomplished. Send word to the Empress. Tell her humanity rejects her ultimatum. And if she wants to test us again, we have 199 more supercarriers ready to demonstrate our response. As the message was transmitted across the vast distance to the Zeth throne world, Sarah turned to study the tactical display one final time. The debris of the Zeth fleet drifted silently through space, a testament to humanity's determination to survive. But she knew this was only the beginning. The real war was about to start, and humanity would need every ounce of ingenuity and courage to face what was coming. In her private quarters later that night, Sarah reviewed the battle footage. Every move, every decision had been calculated to maximize impact while minimizing risk. The Zeth Empire had gravely miscalculated, assuming that humanity's rapid technological advancement meant inexperience. They hadn't understood that every innovation, every breakthrough had been driven by the knowledge that this day would come. The quantum communications array chimed, indicating an incoming message from Earth Command. Sarah accepted the transmission, expecting a formal debrief. Instead, she found herself face to face with Dr. Rivera, the brilliant engineer behind the supercarrier project. "Beautiful work out there, Admiral," he said, his eyes bright with excitement. "But you should know, what you saw today, that was just the beginning. Wait until you see what these ships can really do." Sarah nodded, understanding the implications. Today's battle had revealed only a fraction of humanity's true capabilities. As she prepared for the challenges ahead, she couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The Zeth Empire had wanted to test humanity's resolve. Instead, they'd awakened a sleeping giant, and the galaxy would never be the same. Empress Vaxthal's crystalline throne room pulsed with an angry red glow that matched her fury. The holographic display before her showed the complete destruction of her advance fleet, their debris still orbiting Earth's moon. Her scaled fingers tightened on the armrests, leaving deep gouges in the ancient material. "Impossible," she hissed, her inner eyelids flickering rapidly. These primitives were mining asteroids with chemical rockets less than a century ago. How did they develop quantum targeting systems? The assembled generals of the Zeth military remained silent, none willing to risk their leader's wrath. Finally, High General Kavak stepped forward, his ceremonial armor gleaming under the crystal chamber's lights. "My Empress, we have analyzed the battle data. The humans didn't just copy our technology. They fundamentally reimagined it. Their drone swarms operate on principles our scientists are still struggling to comprehend." "Then we will make them comprehend," Vaxthal declared, rising from her throne. "Deploy the Worldbreaker fleet. All of it. Show these humans what true power looks like." Across the vast expanse of Zeth space, massive hangars opened their ancient doors. Ships that hadn't seen combat in 10,000 years awakened, their systems humming with terrible purpose. The Worldbreaker fleet represented the apex of Zeth military might. 1,000 capital ships, each carrying enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to molten slag. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Rivera stood before Admiral Chen's command staff, his usually immaculate lab coat wrinkled from 3 days without sleep. The holographic display behind him showed what their long-range sensors had detected. "They're bringing out their legendary world-breaker fleet," he explained, his voice hoarse but excited. "Exactly as we hoped they would." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Hoped? Marcus, those ships are the stuff of nightmares. Even our most optimistic simulations show we'd lose half our fleet engaging them directly." Marcus grinned, the expression making him look decades younger. "Who said anything about engaging them directly?" "Admiral, remember how we developed our quantum shields? We didn't just copy their designs. We went back to basics, reimagined the fundamental principles. Well, I did the same thing with an old piece of Earth technology, something so simple the Zeth would never expect it." He gestured, and the display changed to show what looked like an antiquated satellite. "This is based on 20th century radio telescope technology, but with a quantum twist. We call it Project Echo." Colonel Wright leaned forward, studying the design. "A radio telescope against the most powerful fleet in known space. The Zeth rely entirely on quantum communications," Marcus explained. "They abandoned radio waves millennia ago, considering them primitive and inefficient. But we discovered something interesting. Their quantum shields have a harmonic frequency, a weakness that appears when they're hit with precisely modulated radio waves." Understanding dawned on Sarah's face. "You're telling me we can disable their shields with radio waves?" "Better than that," Marcus replied. "We can overload their entire power grid. Their ships will be dead in space. All we need is enough old-fashioned radio telescopes, reconfigured with quantum amplifiers." Sarah turned to her staff. "How quickly can we build these?" "That's the beauty of it," Marcus said. "We don't need to build them. They're already built. Every major radio telescope on Earth, every deep space listening post. They just need a simple modification. We can have a global network ready in 48 hours." The next 2 days were a blur of activity as humanity prepared for its greatest gamble. The supercarrier fleet took up defensive positions while engineering teams worked around the clock to modify Earth's radio telescope network. Long dormant dishes in places like Arecibo, Green Bank, and Parks hummed back to life, their ancient frameworks now housing technology that bridged centuries of innovation. The world-breaker fleet arrived exactly as their intelligence had predicted, emerging from quantum space in a display of power meant to cow humanity into submission. 1,000 capital ships, their massive forms blotting out the stars, arranged in an attack formation that had brought doom to countless civilizations. Empress Vaxthol's face appeared on every screen and holographic display on Earth, her scaled features arranged in what passed for a smile among her species. "Humans of Earth, you have shown admirable spirit, but now you will witness true power. Surrender now, and perhaps I will allow your species to survive as servants." Admiral Chen's response was broadcast from every modified radio telescope on and around Earth. "Empress Vaxthol, we've studied the history of your empire. For 10,000 years, you've conquered through fear and overwhelming force. But you've forgotten something important about evolution." She paused, her finger hovering over the activation command. "Those who stop adapting, stop surviving." At her signal, humanity's secret weapon activated. Concentrated radio waves, precisely modulated and quantum amplified, swept across space. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the mighty ships of the world-breaker fleet began to dim. Their quantum shields flickered and died. Power systems crashed. The most powerful armada in known space transformed into an array of expensive orbiting debris. On her flagship, Empress Vaxthol watched in horror as her invincible fleet died without firing a shot. The humans hadn't just defeated her ships. They had done it with technology her empire had discarded as worthless millennia ago. "Impossible," she whispered, an echo of her earlier denial. But the evidence was undeniable. Humanity had just changed the rules of warfare in ways her empire never imagined possible. As the Worldbreaker fleet drifted powerless in space, Admiral Chen opened a channel to the Empress's flagship. "Now then, shall we discuss terms? Or would you prefer to see what else we've developed using technology you thought obsolete?" In her throne room, Empress Vaxthul realized that this defeat represented more than just a military setback. It was proof that her empire's very foundations, its assumption of technological superiority, were built on sand. And as she watched humanity's supercarriers move to surround her dead fleet, she understood that the galaxy would never be the same. The void between Earth and Mars erupted with energy as the largest battle in human history unfolded. The disabled Worldbreaker fleet had been just the beginning. The Zeth Empire's response came in waves of ships that seemed to darken the solar system itself. This time, they came prepared for humanity's radio wave attack, their ships protected by rotating frequencies that rendered the previous strategy useless. 5,000 enemy vessels detected, Colonel Wright announced, his voice steady despite the staggering numbers. "They're using some kind of adaptive shielding we've never seen before." Admiral Chen stood at the command center of the supercarrier Hyperion, watching as the massive Zeth armada approached. The enemy fleet moved with deadly precision, their formation a living thing that shifted and adapted with each passing moment. At their center, a massive vessel unlike anything humanity had encountered before dominated the battlefield. "The Empress herself has joined the battle," Sarah observed, noting the distinctive energy signature of the royal flagship. "She's not taking any chances this time." Dr. Rivera's voice crackled over the quantum comm. "Admiral, those adaptive shields, they're not just defensive, they're gathering data, learning from every interaction. The longer we wait, the more they'll understand about our capabilities." Sarah nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Then we don't wait. All carriers, execute Formation Hydra." The 200 human supercarriers split into smaller battle groups, each moving with synchronized precision. Rather than meeting the Zeth fleet head-on, they began a complex dance of position and counterposition, drawing the enemy into an elaborate three-dimensional web. From her command throne aboard the Imperial Devastator, Empress Vaxthul watched the human fleet's movements with growing unease. "Their formation makes no tactical sense," she muttered, her inner eyelids flickering rapidly. Unless her realization came too late. The human fleet wasn't just moving randomly. They were creating interference patterns with their quantum drives, generating waves of gravitational distortion that rippled through space itself. The Zeth ship's adaptive shields, so focused on countering conventional attacks, failed to account for the fabric of space being manipulated around them. "Clever," Vaxthul admitted as she watched dozens of her ships begin to lose formation, caught in the gravitational eddies. "But not clever enough. Execute the sundering protocol." The Imperial Devastator's massive form began to change, its outer hull splitting apart to reveal weapon systems that defied conventional physics. Energy began to gather at focal points across its surface, building to levels that threatened to tear reality itself. Energy spike detected. Wright's warning came just as the Imperial Devastator released its first attack. A beam of pure quantum energy lanced through space, cutting through 3 human supercarriers before they could evade. The ships didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, their matter converted to energy in an instant. Sarah's jaw tightened as she watched the death of thousands of her personnel. "So that's their true weapon. All carriers, initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Chen Alpha 7. Across the human fleet, a transformation began. The supercarriers' outer hulls reconfigured themselves, revealing layers of technology that had remained hidden until this moment. Dr. Rivera's voice came through again, filled with fierce pride. "Quantum mirroring fields active. Admiral, let's see how they like their own medicine." The next beam from the Imperial Devastator struck a human carrier and bounced back, reflected by technology that the Zeth had thought impossible to develop. The returned energy caught several Zeth ships, erasing them from existence just as they had done to the human vessels. Impossible. Vaxthol's rage echoed across all frequencies. How did you develop quantum mirroring? The mathematics alone would take centuries to master. You assumed we would follow the same technological path as your empire. Sarah responded, her voice calm despite the chaos of battle around her. But humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to imagine new possibilities. The battle evolved into something beyond traditional space combat. Both fleets began to use space itself as a weapon, creating gravitational eddies and quantum storms that threatened to tear apart the solar system. The void between planets became a canvas for devastation on a scale never before witnessed by either species. Lieutenant Aisha Patel's voice cut through the tactical channel. Admiral, we're detecting fluctuations in their quantum network. Their ships, they're starting to lose coordination with each other. Sarah recognized the opportunity immediately. The Zeth fleet relied on perfect synchronization, their tactics built around millennia of technological superiority. But faced with humanity's unconventional approach, that very synchronization was becoming their weakness. All carriers, execute attack pattern Delta, she commanded. Target their command and control nodes. Let's show them why humanity never relied on perfect order to win our battles. The human fleet broke formation, each ship now operating independently, but toward a common goal. Where the Zeth expected coordinated attacks, they found chaos. Where they anticipated strategic retreats, they met aggressive advances. Human captains, trained to think independently and adapt on the fly, turned the battle into thousands of smaller engagements that the rigid Zeth command structure couldn't effectively counter. From her command throne, Empress Vaxthol watched as her perfect formation began to crumble. The Imperial Devastator's quantum weapons, so devastating against predictable targets, struggled to lock onto human ships that refused to follow conventional tactical doctrine. Your fleet fights like savages, she broadcast, her voice thick with contempt. There is no logic, no pattern to your attacks. Sarah's response was immediate. That's because we learned long ago that the greatest battles aren't won by following patterns, they're won by breaking them. As the battle reached its climax, the void between planets had become a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams of empire. But among the destruction, humanity's supercarriers continued their relentless advance, their quantum mirroring fields reflecting the Zeth's own power back at them, their unconventional tactics breaking down the enemy's carefully constructed strategies. The Empress's mighty armada, which had begun the battle with overwhelming numerical superiority, found itself facing something it had never encountered in 10,000 years of conquest, an enemy that refused to fight according to the established rules of warfare. And in that refusal, humanity had found its greatest victory. Lieutenant Aisha Patel's fingertips danced across holographic interfaces in the depths of the supercarrier Hyperion's cyber warfare center. While the battle raged in physical space, she and her team fought a different kind of war, one made of light, data, and quantum entanglement. The Zeth Empire's communications network stretched before them like a vast digital ocean, its currents carrying secrets waiting to be discovered. There's something wrong with their network architecture, Aisha muttered, her eyes reflecting cascading streams of alien code. It's too perfect, too structured. No system this complex should be this orderly. Her second-in-command, technical specialist Jordan Chen, leaned forward to study the patterns. Maybe that's their weakness. 10,000 years of unchallenged supremacy. They never had to worry about security through obscurity. Aisha's team had spent months preparing for this moment, developing algorithms that could penetrate Zeth cyber defenses. But what they found in the enemy's networks defied all expectations. The Zeth didn't just use quantum computing. Their entire civilization was built on it, every system interconnected in ways that seemed to violate the laws of physics themselves. Admiral, Aisha called through the secure channel to the bridge. I think we found something you need to see. Sarah Chen's hologram materialized in the cyber warfare center moments later, her expression tense but curious. Make it quick, Lieutenant. The Empress is regrouping her forces for another push. Aisha manipulated the holographic display, expanding a complex diagram of interconnected nodes. Their entire empire runs on a quantum network that's been running continuously for 10,000 years. It's not just their ships, it's everything. Their weapons, their shields, their entire civilization is connected through quantum entanglement. That's impossible. Dr. Rivera's voice cut in as his hologram joined them. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. Exactly, Aisha replied, her eyes bright with discovery. They're drawing power from somewhere. And it's not any energy source we've ever encountered. Look at these patterns. They're familiar, aren't they? Marcus studied the data streams, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. These are similar to the patterns we discovered in our early quantum shield experiments, the ones that nearly tore apart our testing facility. Because they're not just using quantum entanglement for communication, Aisha explained. They're using it to harvest energy from quantum fluctuations in spacetime itself. Their entire empire is powered by tears in reality. Sarah's expression hardened as she understood the implications, and if those tears were to be disrupted, their entire civilization would go dark, Aisha confirmed. Ships, weapons, shields, everything would shut down simultaneously. But there's a catch. The only way to disrupt it would be to create a quantum resonance cascade powerful enough to affect their entire network at once, which would require more energy than our entire fleet could generate, Marcus added grimly. Jordan Chin, who had been quiet until now, suddenly straightened. Unless we don't need to generate the energy ourselves, what if we could reflect their own power back at them, just like we did with their weapons? The idea sparked a rapid exchange of theories and calculations. Dr. Rivera's hands flew across floating holographic equations, while Aisha's team ran simulation after simulation. The more they dug into the Zeth network, the more they realized the true nature of their enemy's power and its fundamental weakness. Their perfect order is their vulnerability, Aisha explained as the plan took shape. They've created a system so intricately balanced that the slightest disruption, if applied at exactly the right point, could cascade through their entire network. Sarah watched as the simulations play out, showing the potential collapse of the most powerful empire in known space. Can you find that point? Aisha's fingers flew across her interface, diving deeper into the Zeth network. Their security is impressive, but it's designed to stop brute force attacks. They never imagined someone could understand their system well enough to find its pressure points. Give me 2 hours. You have one, Sarah replied. The Empress is marshaling her forces for what she thinks will be a final push. We need to be ready. The next hour was a blur of activity as Aisha's team worked to identify the critical node in the Zeth quantum network. They found it buried deep in the architecture of the Imperial Devastator itself, a quantum core that served as a primary anchor point for the entire network. The Empress didn't just bring her flagship to command the battle, Aisha realized. She had to bring it. It's the linchpin of their entire system. The plan they developed was audacious to the point of insanity. Using the quantum mirroring technology that had already proved so effective, they would create a feedback loop in the Zeth network, using their own energy against them. But the timing would have to be perfect. If we get this wrong, Marcus warned, we could tear a hole in space-time large enough to swallow the solar system. Sarah's response was immediate. Then we don't get it wrong. Lieutenant Patel, prepare your team. When the Empress makes her move, we'll only have one chance to end this. As the cyber warfare team made their final preparations, Aisha found herself staring at the streams of Zeth code that had revealed their civilization's greatest secret. The empire that had terrified the galaxy for 10,000 years had built its power on a foundation of quantum glass. Perfect, beautiful, and catastrophically fragile. Send word to all ships, Sarah commanded as she prepared to return to the bridge. The next phase of this battle won't be fought with weapons or ships. It will be won or lost in the space between atoms, in the quantum realm where reality itself hangs in the balance. As alarms began to sound throughout the fleet, warning of the Empress's approaching armada, Aisha and her team took their positions. They had found the hidden protocol that could bring an empire to its knees. Now they just had to survive long enough to use it. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the Zeth Armada made its final approach. The Imperial Devastator led the charge, its massive form crackling with enough quantum energy to reshape reality itself. On its command throne, Empress Vaxthul prepared to demonstrate why her empire had ruled unchallenged for 10 millennia. Your resistance ends now, her voice boomed across all frequencies. Witness the true power of the Zeth Empire. The Imperial Devastator's quantum core began to pulse with blinding intensity. Energy readings went off the scale as the massive vessel prepared to unleash its full might. But in the depths of the Hyperion Cyber Warfare Center, Lieutenant Aisha Patel allowed herself a small smile. "They're doing exactly what we predicted," she reported to Admiral Chen. "The quantum core is reaching maximum power. They're about to trigger the cascade themselves." Sarah's voice was steady as she gave the order that would change history. "Execute Operation Looking Glass." Across the human fleet, 200 supercarriers activated their quantum mirroring fields simultaneously. But this time, they weren't just reflecting energy. They were creating a vast quantum lens, focusing all that power back to a single point within the Imperial Devastator's network architecture. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The Empress's attempt to unleash her ship's full power became the trigger for her empire's undoing. The quantum feedback cascaded through the ancient network, amplifying with each reflection until it reached critical mass. "By the first stars," Vaxthul whispered as she watched her displays go dark. All across her mighty armada, ships began to lose power. The quantum network that had sustained her civilization for 10,000 years was unraveling. But something unexpected happened as the cascade reached its peak. As reality itself buckled under the strain of so much quantum energy, both human and Zeth sensors detected something impossible. Echoes of another civilization, one that had existed long before either of their species reached for the stars. Dr. Rivera's voice cracked with excitement as he analyzed the readings. "These patterns, they're not random. They're blueprints, star maps. This is how the Zeth Empire got their technology in the first place. They found it, just like we found their ruins on Mars." The revelation hit both sides like a physical blow. The Zeth Empire hadn't developed their quantum technology. They had discovered it, built their entire civilization on the foundations of an even older species that had vanished eons ago. And now, in trying to protect their secret, they had forced humanity to unveil it. "Your empire was built on borrowed power," Sarah broadcast to the Imperial Devastator. "But humanity built everything we have from scratch. That's why we could understand it enough to turn it against you." The quantum cascade continued to spread, but Aisha's team had made an unexpected discovery. "Admiral," she called urgently, "we can contain this, but we'll need their help. If we don't work together, the cascade will tear apart every quantum system in this sector of the galaxy, including Earth's defense grid." Sarah opened a channel to the Imperial Devastator. "Empress Vaxthul, you have a choice. We can work together to contain this cascade, or we can watch both our civilizations fall. What's it going to be?" For several long moments, there was only silence. Then, Vaxthul's voice returned, different now, humbled, but not broken. Perhaps it is time for the Zeth Empire to learn what it means to build rather than merely inherit." What followed was unprecedented in the history of either civilization. Human and Zeth scientists worked together, racing against time to contain the quantum cascade. Dr. Rivera and his Zeth counterparts shared knowledge that had been kept secret for millennia, finding common ground in their shared love of discovery and innovation. As the crisis passed, both sides found themselves facing a new reality. The Zeth Empire's technology was crippled, their quantum network destroyed. But in working together to prevent catastrophe, They had discovered something more valuable than power. They had found a way forward. "Your species continues to surprise us," Vaxthal admitted in the aftermath. "We thought ourselves masters of the galaxy, only to learn we were merely caretakers of someone else's legacy. But you built your own path to the stars." The peace treaty that followed wasn't just an end to hostilities. It was the beginning of a partnership. The Zeth would share their knowledge of the ancient civilization, whose technology they had discovered, while humanity would help them develop new technologies, ones they could truly call their own. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the Hyperion's observation deck, watching as human and Zeth ships worked together to clear the debris of battle. Lieutenant Patel and Dr. Rivera joined her, their expressions reflecting the magnitude of what they had achieved. "We didn't just win a war today," Sarah said quietly. "We changed the course of two civilizations." As Earth's sun rose over the horizon, casting its light across the assembled fleets, humanity had proven something extraordinary. In their desperate fight for survival, they had discovered that true power didn't come from inherited technology or ancient secrets. It came from the uniquely human ability to imagine, innovate, and most importantly, to forge their own destiny among the stars. The age of the Zeth Empire had ended, but something new and potentially greater was beginning. An era of collaboration between two species that had learned the true price of victory was not in conquest, but in understanding. And as the first joint human-Zeth research teams began their work, the galaxy watched, waiting to see what these former enemies would discover together.